I've started here at Tully House only a few months ago, and one of the things that's hit me more than anything else here since I started isn't so much a particular physical object itself, but it is the atmosphere that's generated here by the visitors and of course the staff, the volunteers as well. I've worked in visitor attractions for well over 10 years and visited a lot as well, and I've got to say that the atmosphere here at Tully House is very, very positive. It takes a lot of work in many places to actually create that sort of atmosphere, and even with all the work put in, some places that I've seen, visited or even worked at just haven't managed it. So I think it's one of the things that Tully House and the staff and the visitors themselves should be very, very proud of, and it certainly means that I think it's worthwhile being a treasure.
I looked at that and could imagine the Roman lady wearing it and could imagine how she lost it. The back of those earrings that hook in, I've lost on numerous occasions, found that I've got home and I've only wearing one earring and been really annoyed about it. And so I could imagine the Roman lady getting home and feeling the same way. And I could also imagine that perhaps in a few hundred years' time, an archaeologist may find all of my odd earrings somewhere lying around.
I really like these objects. There's some of the new ones on the gallery, and one of them is almost 800 years old. I love them because they're really local. You can imagine someone in medieval Carlisle wandering around just wearing these shoes. It's such a human thing to be able to walk in their footsteps in a way. It's something you can identify with in a way maybe a piece of metal or an old coin doesn't. And I mean the later one, it's just so beautiful. It's got these lovely indentations in it, so you've got all these patterns. They're just really lovely human objects and so small as well. It surprised me, that one.
I like the calmness in this part of the museum. I'm often rushing around between offices, lost in my busy schedule. But when I run my hand down the old oak banister of the Jacobean staircase, I always think of all the other people who've done so over the years. This reminder of the past and stories almost forgotten never fails to reignite my interest in history, how we can use it to make connections and build our understanding of the world around us.
These beautiful Jacobean-style gardens make it the ideal spot to eat lunch, particularly in the summer months. The smell of the blossom flowers and the tall enchanting trees that proudly tower over them are just two of the features that I believe make it as beautiful as it is. Not only this, but I believe the fact it's situated in the heart of Carlisle makes it so special, as it's hidden away from the hustle and bustle of city life, making it a true hidden treasure passers-by can escape to.
I really like the arts and crafts movement as a social experiment, but one that's intrinsically flawed, mainly because its greatest exponents, William Morris, for example, were all incredibly rich and could afford to live the way that they wanted everyone to live. And the idea being that art would almost emancipate the masses. People idealised how medieval people lived. The arts and crafts movement tried to show people that they could go back to living like that. But again, there's that contradiction that you can't have the Industrial Revolution and its good points without the Industrial Revolution as a whole. But if you had enough money, you would be able to live in a lovely house, own lots of lovely pieces of art and pretend that you were living in the Middle Ages with all your mod cons. This vase is a part of that. It's a very small part, but it's a part that you would be able to put on your mantelpiece and think of the arts and crafts revolution or lack thereof.
I particularly like the painting because of the fact that it is a Carlisle subject, and I think Sam Bow is an artist who is perhaps underappreciated. He's well known in Scotland, in the north of England, but outside of that is little known, which I think is a shame because I think he's a very talented artist. I think this is a particularly fine landscape. And I think arguably the best painting that's ever been painted of Carlisle. It's a remarkably powerful picture because of the thunderous sky. I think that adds a certain quality to it, which raises it above the ordinary and makes it a really beautiful and powerful picture. I think a very clever trick is that the one figure who is actually looking directly back at you, the viewer, a soldier, is absolutely in the centre of the picture, and he sort of holds your eyes when you're looking at it. I would argue it's possibly Sam Bow's masterpiece. It's a wonderful painting, and one that I love very much.
It's one of the pieces that tends to get overlooked when people are looking at Old Tully House and the paintings. It depicts a tailor and his wife both riding goats. And the tailor wears a pink suit and got a couple of pistols either side of the goat, and the goat's carrying an iron in its mouth, which I really rather appealed to me. I think it's quite good to find something like this which might put a smile on kids' faces or anybody's face. It's so incredibly strange that something like that should be produced in a factory. Porcelain does tend to be something that might be regarded as otherwise a bit dull, really.
The photograph makes me think of a busy working lady, just taking a little bit of time just to relax and just forget about everything that's going on in her life. Upon speaking to colleagues, some people feel it has got a little bit of a sinister look about it. It looks as if something's actually happened to her and that's why she's lying there. But for me, I've never sort of felt that way. I've always thought that she was just actually relaxing and it was a nice calm feeling. I think it's the contrast between the colour of her dress and what she's wearing and the reeds and the vast open space and the fact that you can't say anything else around. It's as if she's just taken a little time for herself.
I think it's really unexpected to come across something contemporary in a Roman gallery, and it's one of the reasons that I like it. I think it talks about the modern relevance of history, which I think is really important and unusual. I suppose, like many really good ideas, it's obvious once you see it that, you know, history repeats itself. And when you see the physical similarities between something like the Gaza Wall and the Hadrian's Wall, I think that's quite striking, and it makes a really strong point. Hadrian's Wall is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but people think that's about preservation, but actually it's about promoting peace. And I think the display does that really well. So the fact that it's actually getting people talking and talking about the modern relevance of history, I think, is really important.
I like the Wallibers, particularly because I think the face, the humour, the little sparky eyes are just really, really attractive. But I suppose each day when I come to work at Tully House, I always find something different, something new, something fresh. And I think Tully House is one of those lovely, wondrous places where you can just saunter around and see something new, something you never noticed, something very mundane, even if it's detail in the staircase or something about Old Tully House or a painting that looks very different to what it was the day before. And I think that's so fascinating.